back to another powerful episode of AI Biz. I'm your host Avik, and today we are venturing into the fast moving world of AI, which we call artificial intelligence, but not just the AI as a buzzword. So we are talking about like how businesses can harness it for innovation, scale it responsibly, and even use it to drive sustainability. Yeah, and joining me is someone who has been at the very forefront of this global shift. Please welcome my guest, Amir Elion. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. And I'm really passionate about this topic. So hopefully I can also provide some ideas, insights, and share a bit of what I've done as well.
Definitely, definitely. So, before we delve deep into the discussion, I'll quickly love to introduce you with the listeners. Um, dear listeners, Amir is a seasoned business innovation and transformation leader with more than 25 years of experience helping the companies from global giants like Volvo, Adobe, and Johnson and Johnson to ambitious startups like build new products and thrive in the digital era. So he has led the digital innovation program at Amazon Web Services in the Nordics and guiding executives through Amazon's working backwards methodology to uh, develop the customer-centric innovation. And today, through his company, ThinkPeak Leaders, he continues to help organizations unlock the practical, responsible, and impactful use of AI, cloud, and emerging technologies. So, what's more, he brings a unique human touch to the tech world. So, he's also a shiatsu therapist, connecting body, mind, and energy in a way that balances the his high tech expertise with the deep holistic wisdom. So, there are a lot of things to discuss today, dear listeners. I'll not take much of your time. Welcome to the show again, Amir.
Thank you. Yes. And I am, I don't know, to risk it and say I'm a bit of a variety junkie. So I love a lot of things. I'm very curious and I try to learn from very different domains. And then I try to uh, bring insights from one domain to the other. And sometimes I find it helps me be innovative and creative. So, yeah.
Definitely, I totally agree with you, and I can definitely resonate with you because even the same thing with me as well. I mean, I started my career as a HR professional, and then from HR I moved to the HR IT, and then totally shifted to HR. I mean, from HR IT to I shifted to IT product designing, and now I am into designing services into IT apps and all these things. So I mean, yeah, I mean, the journey was not that smooth, but yes, the learning was very great. So yeah, I mean, it is good. I mean, diversification is definitely which I love the most for sure. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and so like you have worked with some of the world's most influential companies, like from from there, like what's your perspective? Like, what are the biggest business opportunities uh, you are seeing right now in AI?
Yeah, so obviously it's a hot potato and a big
Mhm.
buzz, and everybody wants to talk about it. And there's pressure from the board, from customers, from the employees, from the market. But what I often find that although some of these companies have been around for a while, they have very experienced people and executives.
Yeah.
It's very overwhelming, right? It's a disruption, even for the experts who are kind of keeping up with things or trying to keep up with things. It is overwhelming, and it's not just the pace of the technology; it's
Okay.
also the implications and what should we be doing about it. So one of the things that I try to do when I speak with leadership teams, with product teams, or with larger audiences at
Mhm.
large, um, I try to help them bring it down to practical terms. So help them and give them some frameworks to
Mhm.
get their head around this. I'll just like mention very briefly when I talk about AI opportunities for business. I
Mhm.
try to divide them into buckets. So the first bucket is really obvious one, and a lot of people are talking about it. Is the operational productivity, and getting things done faster at a larger scale, with the help of the intelligence on tap that we have right now. Of course, you have to do it in a responsible way. We can get back to it in a minute, but that's one opportunity that often is the first one that organizations are looking at. The other bucket that I would love to see more look into is enhancing your products and your
Mm,
engagement with your customers, your stakeholder, your public, depending what kind of your organization are you. It could be so for public sector, non-profit, but obviously also for private. And there's also massive opportunities to upgrade and to offer completely new um, experiences and products through AI. And the third bucket, which
mm,
I get to speak with even less executives because it requires a bit of a more uh, a maturity level that you need to get to, is understanding that this is a disruption, um, and such a big impact of a general technology. It's going to
right.
impact value networks. It's going to impact business models. It's going to impact operational models. And you should definitely be thinking on how might it influence your value network, what you should
Mm,
be doing to defend yourself, but also what kind of new um, value chains can you build and new business and operating models can you build to tap into
mm,
this opportunity. So again, it's not obviously like every model. It just
right.
represents some sort of understanding of what's happening, but I find that such models, and I obviously have some others when we dive into things, it helps people understand and not be overwhelmed, and then understand, okay, where do we want to start? What kind of portfolio do we build, right? How much do we want to put on
Mm,
productivity? How much do we want to put on new features in products? And maybe how do we want to explore this disruption potential? Right. So this is just one example of how the confusion that I see with people being overwhelmed, and kind of the anchors that I try to give them in
mm,
helping them think through this.
got it. So, like, uh, do you think the real value lies more in creating entirely new products or just in enhancing the existing ones?
As I said, I think there's potential value in each of these buckets, and some of it could be enhancing existing services. There is definitely going to be disruption. It really depends on the type of business that you are,
Mm,
the level of risk that you're willing to take, the technology and the type of customers that you have.
mm,
So, if you're in the public sector, you are constrained, but by what your mandate, right, and what you can
mm,
do. Still, you can definitely invent and enhance existing services, um, but you have to be aware of the possibilities of this disrupting the way that you're working in, but maybe less so than like a private corporate that is working, and an incumbent that is uh, going to be disrupted by startups or scale ups,
mm.
right? So it really depends on what kind of organization you are, and also the culture that you have within your organization. There's different cultures. Some of them are more susceptible or more tolerant towards risk taking. Others are a bit more cautious.
Exactly. Hmm. I mean, it definitely shows that AI is not just about the disruption, it's also about the elevation as well. So, uh, that's true. And I'd love to ask you from your contributions during where you have led Amazon's digital innovation program. So, which is built around the walking backwards methodology. So, how
Mhm.
does this approach ensure AI projects are actually solving the real problems rather than just chasing the hype?
Yeah, a very good point. And sometimes I would come and speak to a customer, and they would tell me, we want to do something with AI, because of the pressures, because of the the interest. And then I tell them, okay, but first let's talk about what is the problem that you're trying to solve.
Mm,
and who are you trying to solve it for? And
Yeah.
maybe AI is not the solution. Maybe there's an underlying approach that you need to change. Maybe there's a simpler or a different route that you could take. So, and connecting this to Amazon's working backwards. Um, so how you start working backwards is you start by asking yourself 5 working backwards questions before you build anything. Definitely before you choose a technology or a solution approach, you ask seemingly simple questions, but the answers are not very simple. And the first question is, who is the customer? And I'm always surprised when I come into organizations, even if those very successful organizations, leaders in their field, and I come into product teams that have great products, but then I put this question out into the room, and there is not they've never had this discussion. They've never agreed on actually who is the customer, except from saying whoever is using our product, which is almost like saying nothing. Um, so who is the customer? What is the customer problem? And what is the most important thing, or what's the most important benefit to the customer? These are the first 3 working backwards questions, and you could have like a very deep discussion, and because there's no right answer to these. There's decisions and answers that dictate which direction you go. And they definitely influence which solution you're going to build and which technology you're going to use. And uh, because even just think about it for a minute, right? If the benefit that I'm looking for is lowest, that the customer is looking for is the lowest cost and the highest speed, maybe AI will actually get in the way, because it means we probably need to put more investment into the solution, and it means we need to charge more from the customer. Maybe they just need something simple, not too sophisticated. There's no recommendations needed there. So AI is not a magic bullet. Um, it has lots of opportunities now, but I always come back to these working backwards questions. Who is your customer? What problem are you trying to solve? What is most important? And then let's see, does AI fit in? How does it fit in? How does it serve that need of the customer?
Exactly. And also, like, uh, do you think that most organizations struggle because they start with the technology instead of the customer? Like you mentioned, like, who is my customer? So,
Yeah, I mean, this is for me, maybe because my brain is now already rewired, right? Having done this dozens and hundreds of times, and I already, when when I come into a problem, or when somebody mentions something, it's already almost natural to me to ask these questions. But for many, this is not how we're taught to think. In many, definitely not in the business world. A lot of times you start innovation by thinking, okay, this is the business goal that we have. We want to be the leaders in the market, or this is the technology that we really love. Like you said, like it could be AI, it could be IoT, it could be digital twins. And often I would come and, R&D teams would tell me, "Hey, we want," or the CTO would tell me, "We really want to do something with digital twins." Okay, but why? What for? What's again coming back to the question: who's the customer? How is that going to bring value? So often, because of our education systems, right, as well, when you go and study engineering, you study a technology, you study a certain methodology, you don't get enough. Um, the habit of asking yourself the question, what is the actual problem that I'm trying to solve? And then, every problem, everything looks like a nail that you have to hit the hammer on its head, right? Rather than, okay, do I have other things that I need to address? So, um, yes, I'm always surprised by how do others not already apply the same methodology. But I also I understand where it's coming from, and then I try to show them it's not enough just to talk about it, right? Because when I talk about it, even now, probably when I'm speaking about it, people might be nodding their head and say, "Well, it's pretty obvious." But until you actually do it and you see the difference, and that's where when I do this, face to face with teams, that's where I have to insist, because they come up with their automated answers. They kind of force the answer of who's the customer on the solution that they already have in mind. But then I insist and I push back and I said, "Wait, but what kind of information you have about this customer.
Yeah.
How is this validated? How do you know that this is actually the problem that they have? Is it just something
Mm.
that you're saying to justify the solution you've already built or you're already thought of? So it takes some courage to give up the assumptions that you have, or at least be open to opening them, to reopening them, and uh, really um, challenging yourself. Um, so yeah, I think it's a valid exercise personally, in business, and for leaders to
Mm.
take through their teams and their organizations.
Understood. Yeah. And okay. So, like, with so much talk about AI ethics and risks, what does scaling AI responsibly look like in practice for the businesses?
Yeah, so there are, in the past 2 3 years, we've already seen a number of principles and even frameworks that help you with that. Some of them are also based on research. Some of them are starting to be apparent in also regulation
Mm.
and compliance. I can mention a few principles, but of course, you should go out and learn more about them from frameworks. There's a known problems about bias within models, so you should be avoiding bias. There's
Mm.
so if you flip this, you would say, when you're doing responsible AI, you should take care of fairness, of inclusiveness, so involve other people in the development, so that you don't uh, kind of miss out on the needs of certain groups. There is a principle of being transparent about what you're doing. So if you are using AI in part of the recommendations or the analysis, or definitely if the decision making, you should be transparent about it with your users, with your customers. There's definitely the principle of security and privacy. It's not new
Mm.
to AI, but it may be heightened in the case of AI. So how do we maintain privacy and security of our user data? And if even if we train the models on certain things, and there's a bunch of other principles that you should be following. Personally, I'm also, and you mentioned this in your intro, maybe. I'm also very interested in how do we do sustainable AI. So I've been involved in a project which is called Global Green Action Day, where we try to make impact in the world through bringing together multiple disciplines, systematic innovation, um, 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 circular economy, and sustainability in general, compliance, and AI. So I was in charge of kind of the AI module for sustainability innovation there. So definitely there are implications um, for sustainability, and sustainability in the broader sense. Yes, there is the environmental piece, right? Both the energy and the water usage and things like that, but also the social elements of it. And these connect back to the principles that I mentioned about fairness, inclusiveness, um, privacy, etc. Right. So there are principles out there. Uh, I, I I do say that you shouldn't let those risks and problems dissuade you from doing AI.
Okay.
You should educate yourself and educate your teams about those risks, and there are mitigations that you can take, and risks
Mm.
that you can, sorry, principles that you can apply, um, and tools that you can apply in order to avoid or at least minimize those risks. But I don't think it should hold you back from actually trying out those paths.
Understood. Understood. Yeah. Yeah. So, uh, do you believe that the regulation will help or hinder the innovation in this space?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fast moving space, but also in the terms of regulation. It's
Mhm.
also quite um, distributed or disconnected. So you have all kinds of regulations coming up in different regions and different geographies. Um, it's very hard to keep up to speed even with that. I don't believe, because this uh, disruption, this revolution, is so impactful, and there's so many, even you might say, politics and economics involved. I don't believe that regulation can stop this. It might impact, how different uh, um, regions, um, how quickly they can move ahead. So, for example, there is more regulation now being discussed in the EU, where I'm based. There's other places, and there's the US and China kind of battle. So it might impact the speed in certain areas. I hope personally that if people, on the other hand, those regulations are also good guidance in most cases, right? So they do, for example, if you look at the EU AI Act, it has some good understanding of the levels of risks. If you look into that, and if you um, try to adhere by it, then it does give you guidance where are the lower hanging fruit with the lower risk that we can still do. Um, and it does have some valid protection on people's um, interest, right? If it is if you're doing an AI that has decisions around people's health and lives, you should be a bit more careful,
Yeah.
right? And maybe moving too fast there is not the right approach. So there is definitely value. It's always tricky to find the right balance, and it's interesting to see how will this unfold in upcoming years, both in the speed of innovation and in the regulation.
Correct. Lovely. I mean, that's such a important point because responsible innovation is just not about the slowing down, but also building trust as we move forward. So that is also much important. So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and like you are not just a technology leader, but you are a shiatsu therapist as well. So how has your work into holistic healing shaped your perspective on AI leadership and the innovation?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. I don't know if I've asked
Hmm.
myself that too much. So yeah,
Okay.
so I'm also a shiatsu therapist, and shiatsu, for those who don't know, it's based on traditional Chinese medicine,
Mm-hmm.
looking at a person as a holistic entity, and a bit different from our Western view of medicine, where body and mental and emotion and spiritual are a bit more segregated. Um, so I think, and so you might even call it a system view of a person. Um, so I think in that respect, there are definitely parallels that you could draw between looking at a problem or at a challenge from a
Yeah.
holistic view. And coming back to what I mentioned, what we have been trying to do with the Global Green Action Day, that's what we also realized, that this is a complex problem, sustainability,
Mm.
and AI being part of that. And to deal with that problem, you need to look at it from multiple perspectives, and you have to have a multidisciplinary approach where the
Mm.
even the language is different, right? If you're a sustainability executive, you don't speak the language of an innovation manager, you don't speak the language of the technologist, and you don't understand the language of the regulation or the legal arm of things. So one of the things that we try to do is to bring those practices to speak to each other and to understand each other, and then the solutions that come out of this are uh, more deep. They don't touch just the symptoms. They go down to the root of the
Mm.
problem. And in that respect, it is very much like shiatsu, because when I do, for example, when I start treating somebody, I don't
Yeah.
just ask them about the physical systems. In shiatsu, you ask them about their dreams and their feelings, and you ask them about their diet and even their stools, right? And how and their
Yeah.
energy, and you look at their color and how their posture, and how you listen to their voice. Do they speak in a high tone, a low tone, and the sparkle in their eyes? So all of these together, uh,
Yeah.
they come into a much more sophisticated, complex picture of that entity. And it's not to downplay the importance of science. And I come from a family of doctors, of Western doctors. So I obviously, in some cases, more acute medicine, and definitely there's a lot of advantages to the Western medicine, but maybe for the more chronic things and the
Mm.
things that do involve emotional and psychological, and things that we still don't have an explanation for in Western medicine. I definitely find that the more holistic approach helps people, and sometimes even cures the core of the problem or helps them take a completely new path.
Yeah. Lovely. That's amazing. So, uh, and uh, any suggestion or any advice you would like to share with the listeners today? What that will be?
I would say the biggest thing I would say is don't ignore this. This is coming. Don't sit on the fence. Educate yourself. Um, Pick a project that you care about and that you are able to move ahead with or experiment with. Pick a tool or two. Don't just use the regular chat for like one or two conversations. Pick a real case that has impact on your life, on your business, on your team. uh, Expect to face challenges, expect to be sometimes disappointed, sometimes very much surprised about what the technology can help you with. Uh, but I think the biggest risk is not doing anything and waiting for things to mature, because then it might be too late uh, in the game.
Oh, okay. Hmm. So, and definitely, that's I love it because it highlights that the future isn't just about the smarter machines, but also about the wiser humans. So that's amazing part of it. So, um, I mean, Evan, this has been such a rich conversation, and you have shown us that AI is not just a tool for the business, but it's a lens through which we can innovate, scale responsibly, and even rethink our relationship with the planet and with ourselves. So, for all the listeners, I love to mention like AI is moving fast, but the question is not like whether it will change our world. So, it's how we choose to engage with it. And are we chasing trends or are we building solutions that matter? Right. So, Amir, if someone wants to connect with you, what will be the great medium to connect?
Yeah, and first of all, I couldn't agree more with the way that you summarize this, and that definitely resonates. The best way to connect with me is either going to LinkedIn and connecting with me there. I love learning new things from new people, so don't hesitate. Or go to my company's website, which is thinkpeakleaders.com. Reach out through there, see what I'm involved in, and maybe we can find some common ground and do things together.
Amazing. So, dear listeners, what I'll do is I'll put all the links into the show notes for your easy reference. And with this hope, as always, thank you so much for tuning in. And this is your host, Avik, reminding you that keep your healthy mind, your life visionary, and your innovations responsible. So, thank you so much.